Hello everybody, welcome to Live Scribbles with Jonathan. You can check out my website and my work at jonathanrector.com. And if you wanted to head on over to picarto.tv /Jonathan Rector, I believe is the URL. Or it's, it's, I always get the name wrong. It's always like live, there's no, Scribbles Jonathan is the name on there. It's such a weird username on there. Most of the time, like most places you go, it's like you get a certain amount of word or letters to use, And over here, if you're watching the stream, I was severely limited. But anyway, thank you guys so much for stopping by. Everybody that's in the stream, we got how many we got here? But 10 right now, which is awesome. Thank you guys so much. And so I'm not going to really preach too much more. I'm just going to talk about what's going on, what's new, the new toy that I'm working on right now, and I'm not going to do a review just yet. However, everybody that's in the chat right now, if you guys have a question about the device that I'm using or anything, by all means throw it out there. I'll do my best to answer it. And the device I'm using right now is the Huion GT220. I got that in the mail today, and I've been using it for about a half hour, maybe 45 minutes now. And it's good. It's pretty good. I wouldn't say it. Well, whatever. We'll get into it as we go. As we go. I just noticed right now I'm in Photoshop here because I just wanted to try it out in Photoshop. I've already tried Manga Studio and stuff like that. Everything felt pretty good. There is one thing that I know I will need to get used to. I'm sure we'll talk about it. And if you guys want, I can jump into Manga Studio. I do plan on working on some Worlds in Peril. But I just noticed this one thing right now, and it was funny because when I first came into Photoshop to do this guy here, there's this brush that I downloaded. It's really cool. It reminds me of like this dry ink kind of brush. It's got this really cool feel to it. And as soon as I downloaded this, and this is one thing in Photoshop, I'm not 100% sure in Manga Studio if I can get this brush or not, but it feels very much like a pen, what is it, a brush pen. And I want to do a comic book with it. A nice gritty fat marker or a pen like this. It just, I don't know, the lines are just killer to me. They look really awesome. However, when I jumped over here, this should just be a pressure sensitive brush here. The spacing's down, right? And if we just do a straight line, do you see all this jaggy that's happening in there? We're at 90%, so that might be why. Let's zoom into 100% here. Now, like my levels of pressure, I can still kind of, go like this. The tapers are a little weird. However, what I've heard is Photoshop apparently is the worst culprit for this stuff. Now, thank F, I don't do a lot of line art in Photoshop. Manga Studio was pretty fine. There wasn't really anything drastic to it at all. The only thing that's taking used to is there's so much room now that I have to draw. It's insane. I can't describe this enough to you guys. This one is they told it as the 22 HD, but it's really just 21.5. And the amount of room it feels like. I honestly feel like if you can kind of see my cursor, Photoshop here when I used to run it, I would have about maybe, let's turn all this garbage off here so you guys can see what's going on. I'd probably have maybe around up to here to draw in. Is how it feels. And it just, hitting tab or whatever, just clear it all away like this is insane. This is like a giant piece of paper that I get to draw on. And that's it. Lazy Nuzumi Pro. Thank you. I'm going to actually write that down. I did make some notes when I was doing some research for this. And a bunch of people talked about this. And thank you, because I will bring this up in my review just for people that are interested in it, all that good stuff. So thank you so much there, Digicom, for letting me know about that. Like I said, I did hear about it. I think there's a paid one and a free one you can get. The next thing that I will talk about here is it came with this matte sheet. It's a piece of plastic, and I'm getting bubbles on it. I can see right now, and it might just be from oil. It looks like bubbled oil, like I can move some of it around. You guys can't see it, but I can definitely see it. And I really don't care if I'm working black and white. It's fine. But there's supposed to be like sticky tape that's at the back of this plastic matting that you put on there to make it feel more like a Cintiq. Except I didn't have any tape on mine, which I thought was really weird. So now I just bought this thing, and it's I'll say it's ghetto because it is. It's a masking tape. I have 4 corners of masking tape holding it in place. I'm not a fancy guy. To me, I don't care. I just want this. I just need what I have to work. I don't need it to be, an example I would give is I know some people, and if you're one of these people, no offense, I'm just not that kind of cat. Where let's say they buy a new PlayStation 3, sorry, PlayStation 4, and there's the generic model, and it looks like a shoebox, and then they have the new PS4 Chrome Edition, and it's got racing stripes and sparkles on it. This one's $500. This guy here's $300. I'm always going for this guy. That's just me. I don't need all the bells and whistles on that stuff, which is sort of the reason why I looked into this model here as well, as opposed to a Cintiq, just to see if it's comparable. I know a lot of people probably just ask that right off the bat. I talk, or you guys have, anybody that knows me that's been doing digital work, I started using the Cintiq 12WX, still highly recommended. I recommend you guys go buy it right now. It's a fantastic product. This compared to the Cintiq, I would say my initial impressions, after the size wow factor goes away, the Cintiq felt better out of the box. Now, in saying that, I'm going to check out this Lazy Nizumi, if I'm saying it right, as well, just to see if I can get this line jitter cleared up. But to be fair, look at this. Like, this is what I'm talking about. You saw how, we were getting that jitter. The more I just kind of get in here and just start moving around, I don't know. It doesn't really matter to me. I mean, I am using a pretty fat brush. I wouldn't ink with something like that. 9 to 15 at most. When you're getting into these sizes here, it's so hard to tell. I don't know if you guys will be able to hear this. There's like a squeak. Let me see if... I notice when I do these tappy lines... Sounds like there's a mouse inside my pen, and I'm not 100% sure what that is. It's kind of weird. Let's just sort of draw this out here. This would be, let's say, the Cintiq, and this one's the Huion one. The Cintiq, when I'm drawing, this nub never feels like it goes in. It always just felt like it's stiff right on the glass. The Huion one, I have to press down for it. Almost imagine literally like a quill pen. Like one of those pens you would traditionally ink with. One of these boys. And you press, and you get the fat line. It feels more like that. So that's going to be, something to get a, what's it called? Some getting used to. I'm not going to hold it against it. I mean, I can still get the lines that I'm doing. And I guess one other thing I will say is I've already done a video once I hit buy now on Amazon for this, just to talk a little bit more about what I'm sort of talking about now. And then in a week from today, I'm going to be putting this through its paces. I'm going to try my best to do some private art as well. We'll see. Worlds in Peril is important. But I want to have a review once I have like a solid week with this thing, just to get used to it. I remember the Cintiq had a learning curve too. Most of these drawing tablets, I find, they do take some practice to get used to. I've calibrated them multiple times, and we'll say here's my pen right here. Sometimes it feels like the cursor's up here, and I have heard people talk about this. I could have this same pen going straight down, and as I get to certain spots, it'll start to feel like this. And this to me is I believe it's a parallaxing issue, where it's the angle that I'm sitting at. Even though I'm directly in front of this, it's doing its own thing. The last thing I guess I'll talk about is I have an Ergotron arm that I was using for my 12WX, and that lets me rotate it and all sorts of fun things. This new boy, he's about looking like this, and it fits. Although when I'm drawing like on this side, it starts to jiggle a bit. Now, there's going to be something I'm going to try to figure out. I know when I'm digitally painting, it might not be an issue, but I don't really do too much of that. Every time I hear that mouse. The only other thing I'm thinking of is I don't want to use a keyboard when I draw, like I'm assuming most of you guys and girls don't like doing. So I do have that USB controller that I've used, and in Photoshop, or not, sorry, in Manga Studio, I find it's amazing because I get the customizable tabs at the top. So it's great to use. I can't wait to fart around with that. In Photoshop, I feel like it's more of a necessity. It's a beast that I kind of have to work with, and we'll see where it goes. We'll see how we're doing this. The other thing I would like to try is the stand that came with it, just to see how that feels as well. So there's nothing wrong with the keyboard. It's just when I do Manga Studio work, I'm just working with at best two or three different kinds of tools. One is a pencil, right, and then one would be the pen to ink. That's about it. So I don't need to control T to transform, spacebar, sure, but I can map most of what I need in Manga Studio on that game controller. In Photoshop, I find it feels better to have the keyboard there to be able to do certain things. Like an example would be like a quick mask, which we're going to get into some coloring here in a second, guys. I'm not going to do this the whole time here, but quick mask here, I'll show you. So we've got like a box, and let's just say, you know, this is our outline of Boxman. Give him some sweet legs here. He's in an action pose. Boxman. But Boxman isn't all blue. What I'm doing is masking a whole selection here. So when I make a new layer, I can hold Alt, go in between it, and it'll mask all these colors here. So let's just say he's got a red head. What are you guys doing? You guys hear that? Cats are losing their smack. And no matter how crazy I go inside it, it'll always go inside that mask. So it's little things like that in Photoshop that I dig. The Shuttle Express is a great way to set up over 26 hot screws using an awkward PlayStation controller. Shuttle Express. Let me check that out, Donald. Okay, I'm gonna leave it open. I'll check it out. The problem is, I mean, that looks really cool. A lot of these things that I'm finding, I'm hoping this doesn't look like it is, but a lot of them, it's like I need it to be. I'm a left-handed artist, right? So I need it to be able to work on the right hand, and we're already at $60 for this thing. So unless this thing ships to Canada, I'll have to check it out. But dropping $100 on something, that might be another investment to put in something else. So, okay, so let's get in there. And again, like I say, I want to encourage you guys, if you have any questions or maybe you're interested in buying this. I know the biggest thing that I was very hesitant on is this isn't a Wacom tablet, and that scares the living crap out of me. And I would have to imagine some of you feel the same way. Anyway, I'm going to be working. Again, this is just like a regular show. There's nothing fantastic going on here. Nothing over the top. Just gonna be working on some Worlds in Peril, but again, I encourage any kinds of questions. Anybody that has any inquiry at all, feel free to shout it out there, and I'll do my best to answer it there. So let me see. I started doing the flats last night. There we go. Okay, and I will say what's really cool too is I'm finally able to look at this monitor, and the colors are good. When if you're just doing black and white artwork, again, my review, sorry, I'm all over the place, you guys know that. The review that I'm doing, I want to primarily focus it on people that are just doing what I do on this show, and what I think most of you guys probably do or are interested in, which is just comic book artwork. Not necessarily coloring comic books, but penciling, inking, that sort of thing. It's very hard to find information, at least where I was looking, where people were talking about this. Cintiq's included. It's very hard for me to find just content regarding just comic books. And that's a big bum out. Especially when you're dropping cash and stuff. But so that's the primary focus for that. I will say right now, going in here to color this, just the extra the extra room is it's wonderful. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead, we're going to start coloring this guy, bring this back on a multiply. Go to our brushes, and we're going to go ahead and grab this guy here. Just shrink it down. Alright. So let's see how this goes. I feel like either this squeaking part's going to just work itself out, or we're going to have a new co-host. I mean, it's not a bother to me. I know some people, you might hear it, and it's just, it's the kind of sound where it just drives you up a wall. One thing I will say too regarding what I brought up about the cursor displacement, that I think a lot of people that would have a problem with it, and to be fair, I mean, there's no excuse for it. It should always be 100% where you want it to be, right? Like that's the idea. You don't want to have to start thinking about things while you're like, if you're rendering and you're throwing down render lines and you're like, okay, I don't know if that's going to line up because my cursor's over there. That's a massive problem. Um, but if you have been doing digital work for a while now, especially if you're coming from working on tablets, I feel like you kind of just get used to looking at where the cursor is itself, and then you just start drawing lines based on that. And I drew on one of those boys for a very long time before even getting the 12WX. And so, I mean, the disconnect from jumping from the Cintiq to this, going like, oh, wow, okay, so I got to be careful because that doesn't work like I'm thinking it should work. What's going? Let me just check my brushes here. Oh, okay, this is my fault. I see what's going on here. Okay, let me just check. Sorry, guys, 1 second here. I want to see if this will actually fix that wiggle that I'm looking at. So I want brushes is bringing this up, but I don't think this is correct. This isn't what I want. I want the drop-down menu. Let's see if that. A little bit. I think what was happening was sometimes in Photoshop, if you have this setting up, when you start clicking on different brushes, they'll all start taking on properties that the other ones have as well. And that's never good. Alright, so let's get our brush here, go back to it. So what's everybody else working on? How's your guys' days going? You guys working on any personal projects? You guys hammering out client work? What you doing? Pillowhead wrote a book. Oh, congratulations, man. James is starting to commission. Reese is writing comic for his portfolio. Brett's working on a poster. Donald's trying to get his buffer back for his webcomic. And Millennium Man finished up all my portfolio samples for the Philly Comic Con. Going to see if there's independent publishers needed colors. Right on. Kupo is working on a script for a mini comic. And Lars, it sounds, is the only one that's not. Wait, working on my thesis. It's due by tomorrow. Can't focus on both. Yeah. Sounds like Lars is the only one actually doing schoolwork, or should be doing schoolwork, we'll say. Yeah, plug a link. Go ahead. It's just open chat. So I've been working and thinking heavily on Castle Dracula. I posted some stuff yesterday. I tried to take about 10 to 20 minutes over the last week and a half, just to try a new drawing and coloring style. It's a painted kind of digital painted kind of look. The whole comic book won't look like that at all. I mean, the amount of work that would take is just. I mean, it's overly ambitious for something that I want to start. Maybe one point down in the future we can look at doing something like that, but that's not, it's not something that I'm aggressively going for. But lots of story elements coming into my head and stuff, which is great. I'm just really excited to get into doing some personal stuff, and it should be a blast. Some people are still excited, even though there's nothing really that's been talked about the story or anything like that. So that's exciting too. That there's these people want to at least check it out. You're offered assistant work from your artist teacher. Oh, congratulations, Jeff Isherwood. I'm not familiar with their stuff, but congratulations regardless. Alright, so I think what we're going to do here is we're just going to grab the lasso tool and just sort of follow the shadow, or the black lines that I had. I'm just going to make like a big shadowy mess here. Let's just erase this. Just to get some of that shine back into the blood. It's a pressure sensitivity. That's squeaking. Oh my god. Okay, so down here I think just gonna be a lot of just sharp shadows. Let's cut back into it. Okay. So he's pretty much good to go. Most of these things are pretty simple, but the helmet needs some love. That helmet's pretty boring. So let's get some shines going. So, what are we going to do here for this? I'm thinking it's purple. Actually, before I guess so. Maybe we can start going into the blues a little bit. Be careful with it. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm just making some patterns here. We're just gonna use a gradient. Actually, we'll try to go the other way here. Now these ones we're gonna get a little sharper with the color. So we'll see how these kind of highlights are looking here. Okay. We're just gonna get a little. We're gonna do some bounce light to this. I don't know. All right, let's try coloring some of this back in here. Metal's definitely one of those things I'm gonna have to practice. Okay. So one last thing here, and then we'll get on to the next one. We're gonna go ahead and do a color balance first. I like these guys. Whenever you get like this guy or this girl that's got blood all over them, I like to go into the blues a bit, make them feel a little bit more cold. I'll bring the highlights up to like a green or so. Let's take a look at that. That's better. Just harmonizes things a little bit. Try a film light. along the curve of the helmet from left to right, tapering the line. Try a rim light along the curve of the helmet. Oops. I mean, anything at this point. It's like, okay, so when I ink it, it always looks. I think it looks good anyway. I just know that this is what separates good coloring from bad coloring is like surfaces, right? Adding a color and adding shading is not coloring; it's a style of coloring. But when it comes into something like this requires actual. Whoops. Coloring know-how, I like to call it. But anyway. Brett Strong is asking Jar, how do you go about writing and laying out a book or a story? Whew. It's a loaded question. It's a good one. I'll see if I can talk about it while I'm doing this here. Usually, what I'll do is I've bought a few books from like what's it called? Screenplay, story, all kinds of stuff, trying to understand like beats and scenes and acts. And I think movies are arguably more successful than comics, right? And there's a lot more, I think, writers besides novels that gravitate towards movies. At least in what I like to compare it to is if you see an action movie, I feel like an action movie is a lot of the times just like a comic book. And in saying that, I find it's really cool to look to comics for inspiration, or sorry, movies for oh my gosh, look to movies for inspiration for writing comics, and that's one way of doing things. Personally, that got me so far. Lately, what I'm doing and what I've been doing with Castle Dracula is I just have a general idea of what I want to do. Okay? And in Castle Dracula, the initial reason I started that was I wanted a fun, quick little comic, which everything usually starts at, is you have an idea or you have a thought or maybe a topic, something you want to talk about, experience, and or just kind of find out more or just tell a version of it. Or it could just be as simple as like I just want to draw superheroes, or I want to draw just like an action book. That's it. There's no message I have. There's nothing, anything like that. So once I have that, usually what I'll do is I'll just ponder that idea for a while. Just let it percolate in my head, while at the same time keeping a sketchbook, or in most cases nowadays like a digital sketchbook. But there is something to be said about having a traditional sketchbook around. And what I'm doing is just going back and forth between that, just drawing concepts, drawing ideas that pop into my head, little stories, characters. A lot of the time, you guys will see on Facebook and stuff, the stuff I'm posting, it'll be like yesterday, for example. Here, I'll pull it up. 1 second. Sorry, I just need to kill this here. Okay, get that. I just want to see if screen looks better. If overlay looks better. Nope, or hard light. Sometimes hard light looks really nice. Screen in this case wins. Okay, so we're going to save that up. We'll save it proper in a second here. Whenever it wants to go. There we go. Okay, so let's see if I can find it. File, open recent. Pinup, I think. Okay, this is where it was, and then there's a lot of things happening that I just it was just gross. But I was practicing something with this, which we'll probably talk in another video. Let's see, pinup. Maybe this is the one I put online. The PNG. Okay, this one here. So what I like to do as well is this isn't anything to do with the story at all. I'm not even sold 100% yet on the character's design. Hell, even my wallpaper is this that we did during the stream one time. I love the look, the color, everything about this is what I want to be doing, just this, okay? And so when I look at, where's my cursor? Let's bring Photoshop open. So when I look at this, it's radically different, right? But it's a way that, I don't know about you guys, but you might experiment doing art, trying painting, trying to do other things. In my line of work for my day job, concept art, learning how to do Photoshop and stuff like this is really cool when you want to build, like, if you want to do volume and or scale or just big ideas, I find it so much easier to open up Photoshop or just open up Manga Studio. I know you can do this in Manga Studio. And you just get like a fat paintbrush. You just sort of paint. And what that does is it kind of gets you into this. Like drawing this with pencil or like an ink line might not take as long, but there's a different work process that comes with that, right? Like I can just go in and do certain things with paint that you can't necessarily do drawing. The next step I'll do after this is I'll just sort of put in speech bubbles. And what this is me building ideas. So in this case, surrounded by my flame, and I wonder, is this how your brothers fell, young slayer of death? I'm trying to figure out, is this Dracula talking? Probably. So I'm building up story elements like, okay, so your brothers fell. So this guy right here, he kills dead things, the undead things, you know, children of Dracula, that sort of thing. And that feeds into story. I don't know what the story is just yet. I don't know 100%. But these are things that what I do is I take this and I just save these and I keep saving them until I get the chance, which I will be getting to soon, which we'll move on to the next part, which you want to hear, of like this can only go so far. I don't like working without a script. I don't. My own stuff or client work. I find it very difficult to go from a page to page basis with just general ideas for fun. The project's got to lend itself to that in order to go down that road, like the Marvel method kind of ideology. I need a script. I need to know where I'm going. That's just me. Find out what works for you. The next step after all this, here, I'll just do this real quick. I was going to do some actual work, which we will. But it's just too hard to talk about it without just illustrating. So what I'll do is I'll have all these ideas, and there's two sort of routes that I'll go. One, you can buy a book called Save the Cat. Here, actually, let me just write this down. I talk about this all the time, so I probably need to do a video on this. Save the Cat. I think Blake Snyder. Snyder is his name. And this isn't exactly how to do things, but it will help you understand at least a process that might get you somewhere. And it heavily involves note cards and putting note cards up. Now, the next method that I go that I found works for me is based off of, if you guys know Doug TenNapel, I've talked about him before. He's probably most known for Earthworm Jim, but he's done a bunch of graphic novels. And I don't know where he got this from, which I'll talk about right now, but this is the idea that he goes through. And I do have a video on this, so make it easier on yourself. Go to my website, jonathanrector.com, just click on tutorials at the top, and look under, I think it's script or story or something, and this method will be here. I think it's like writing with note cards, it's called. So the first thing I'll do is I'll have just a note card, an index card. I like to do this organically with paper. I don't really like going on a computer for this sort of stuff. And in here will be the theme of the story. And this is the big picture stuff. I'm not going to go into all of it, but so this is my theme. This is what starts me, what it is that I'm talking about. What's my argument that I'm trying to bring up, right? Now, the next thing I'll do is I'll just grab 3 more note cards. And I always start with the end. I need to know where I'm going. I have tried starting with beginnings, and I never get anywhere, and I feel like it's more shoehorning. I find it easier to know the end, and I'll put the ending of my book or story here in this note card. And these are very quick. Like, if you just want to do hero's journey sort of stuff, it's like hero returns home, let's just say, right? So the beginning, I grab another note card at the beginning, it's the opposite of that, returns home. So the beginning of the story is probably, I don't know, a hero leaves home, something like this, okay? And the middle is what happens from the beginning to the end. Let's say Joey crosses a road at the beginning of the story. The end is he gets across the road. The middle is what's happening between. Is he dodging cars? Does he save the day? Does he get superpowers? Does he destroy the world? Does he kick a dog? Does he save humanity in between? That's the middle part, right? That's what I figure out, and that's what sort of locks these together. The next thing I'll do is grab 3 more note cards, and we'll do the same thing. So I always start at the end stuff, and so I know the ending of this. Okay, so how does that card end? And then I need to know the beginning, middle, and that's it. You just do beginning, middle, and end on all of these. Okay? Now, this should be enough, honestly, for, I don't know, most books. This first part, these 3, you could do in a mini comic. Doug Tenaple, when he's talking about graphic novels, he also does these. He goes beginning, middle, and end on all of these guys. And this is where you start finding the meat and potatoes of your story. It starts to actually start getting plot lines and stuff that you can fit in all this stuff, okay? And that's basically it. Once I have this would be considered my plot outline, and I would go into my word editor of choice. I don't know what it is just yet. I always jump around from, even Google Docs lately has been okay. And then I just do a first pass treatment of the script. And it's very loose. The dialogue is just kind of placeholders for like feelings and stuff. I like to write mine almost like as if I'm writing a novel in a way. I don't want to describe a paragraph full of like, the sticky floors and when they're walking, the feet, like a sound as they lift up, and out of the back corner of their ears they can hear the sounds of beasts running around with that sort of sound like barefooted children running around with slapping water sounds on the ground, and the echoes of cobblestone going, like I don't need all that. It's just some of that does help when it comes to drawing this sort of comic, okay? So anyway, is that how you structure your comic? Okay, so somebody else talk. So that's basically it. Donald posted a link. I'm going to check that out later as well. I find anything that helps with story. If you want to write stories, definitely seek that stuff out. It's out there. There's people that write stories for a living. I want to draw for a living. I want to create comics for a living. Stories for a living. I don't know about you guys. You guys might follow the same boat. But it's difficult to be able to do all of that. So stick with the strength and then try to get better at other stuff. That's just, something I personally believe anyway. Okay, so let's save this here. This is taking a while. This always goes over to the other screen here. Okay, so we're going to save this as a TIFF. And we're going to upload this later. 165. Excuse me, guys. Just let me write this down. 165. All right, let's get into the next one. Okay, thanks, Donald. I might actually, in case I do forget, I'll message you on Facebook. And just in case if you could hit me up with that link, that'd be awesome. I save everything as a TIFF, yes. I believe that's the standard format of doing things. PSDs are just massive. If the client wants an editable PSD, I'll usually send that. But the TIFF, the size is very small. And it keeps a high resolution. That's at least as much as that I know of. Even when I send inks to somebody, it's usually, it's always a TIFF. If I can, it'll be a bitmap line art. Okay, what are we doing here? Image size. So actually, we're not going to do that anymore. Okay, so let's close that. Oh, thank you, Donald. I really appreciate that. Okay, so let's open up the next one, which is 167. And I don't know how much time we're going to have, but we'll go ahead. So while I'm doing this, if you guys have any other questions about this big tablet or this big monitor, if you guys are interested in that, check it out. Ask a question. I'll do my best to answer it. If you... yeah, okay, sorry. All over the place here. Okay, so commissions. Worlds in Peril. Internal pinups. We need to go to inks, and we're looking for 167. It's funny, I have all this stuff under inks, and they're not really inks. More just like line art. Digicom, I just zipped 230 meg PSD and it shrunk it. Like, that's massive size. 70 megs? Like, if that's for one page, that's anyway, that's pretty big. Alright, so let's full screen this beast. We're going to change our background to gray here, just so I can see some of the stuff here. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and save as... We're going to save it as a colors. Boom, boom, boom. And we're going to go to PSD. Alright. Now the fun begins. And by fun, I mean not fun at all. Anybody wants to find out how to multiply line art? You can literally just change it to multiply and draw underneath it. That's the easiest way. If you ever feel like you might want to change the color of the line art, there's the way I'm going to do it. I don't think I'm going to change the color of the line art, but you never know. And I'd rather do that now than later. So make sure you go up to image mode. So you have it in grayscale. Decreases the size. We're going to have to switch it to RGB color. Don't merge. You can go CMYK. You know, I'm not too worried about it. So we got that. We're going to go to channels. We got all these boys. You click this transparent circle. It's going to get all these marching ants, dotted lines everywhere. Go back to layers. Make sure your line art is selected. Click delete. Deselect that. And your line art is going to look like poop. So we're going to lock it. Pick black. And we're going to alt backspace or fill it black. And then we get all our lines back. So what this does is, you guys have seen me do it before. Maybe I want like dark blue lines. There we go. We got blue lines. Perfect blue lines. You know, you never know what the application could be for that. Maybe you just want dark brown, anything. So we're just going to go black right now. That knee cross-hatching is turning you... This one right here? Or this one on the left? And this is going to be the test if I can keep doing this sort of stuff in Manga Studio with the new tablet. I'm sure we can. I'm sure we can. Alright, so what we're going to do is I'm just picking colors here. Again, this is the most boring part of the process, I know. My apologies. But we need to make a mask of these characters. And I do feel we're going to have to do a little bit of noodling with this pen pressure. Hopefully it'll get fixed with that add-on thing that you guys recommended earlier. Oh, I didn't tell you guys one of the cool things that I get to do now. And I'm actually really excited about it. Might sound kind of stupid, but for the most part, I mean, it needs a little bit of tweaking, but I'm able to rotate the monitor sideways because I have it on that Ergotron arm. And what that lets me do is I can work on comic pages that are 11 by 17. Not this widescreen stuff that we're looking at right now. And that might not seem like a big deal, but if you're doing pinups or cover work, at least for me, I always would have a separate window open up off on my second monitor there, just so that I could see the whole thing. But just being able to see and draw on it at the same time is a big motivator to look into a bigger size. So I don't know if any of you guys are interested in that, or if you guys have a problem if you're using a smaller one or anything like that. If that's like something you're interested in. The squeaking though, this is really weird. I'm asked why that elbow is double jointed. Which elbow? Oh, this elbow here? I'm not sure. Does anybody else feel it looks weird? I mean, I don't want to say it's a style thing. If bad anatomy is bad anatomy. Unless you're thinking this line right here is the elbow pointing out. No, don't don't worry about shutting up. I mean, that's how we get better, right? If a lot of people are noticing this and nobody's saying anything, and I'm not seeing it, then that's a problem. So yeah, don't feel shy or ashamed or anything if you're gonna criticize my stuff. I appreciate it. I want to get better too, just like everybody else. So. The tricep could be more pronounced. That's the thing. I don't even think there's a tricep. Like it's over here. Yeah, you're probably right. If I had like a tricep sticking out on the side here, it'd probably help. Maybe. Oops. No. What is this? Cancel. F4. What? What is going on? Deselect. Magic wand. Magic wand. Function. Oh, that's why I'm hitting the wrong button. Oh, this keyboard. There we go. Jeez. That's closer. It looks like a regular L. Yeah, I mean, I guess if maybe we can work, or maybe I can just add it in here. If I'm getting enough comments that it's off, then maybe my eyes are just getting a little tunnel vision on them. Actually, let's just see this real quick. Let's go. We're gonna go black. We're gonna go black. Let's do an F3 action. All right, so let's critique my shit. My shit. Let's see how bad this is here, okay? So we've got some collarbone action happening here. Got this muscle, got all that muscle. All right, now I did this here. It's going into his pecs over here. Okay, so this line would go here into the bicep. So what I tried to do here, and this might be something that's unsuccessful, so this would be the wrist, and the forearm is coming here, and the bicep is connecting in between the forearm muscles. So where I think I fudged up is that the tricep should be here like this. Okay, so that's the case. You guys let me know what you think, if that seems about right. So what we're going to do is we're going to redraw it. Let's do it. I'm going to actually, I don't know. I downloaded this person's brushes, and they're fine, but I just want a little bit of a taper to her. Let's get some black lines there. So this can kind of be a line art test too. It's right at 100%. I can't really see what the hell's going on. So if I turn, let's see if we can colorize that to red. Sure. And see if we can merge it just into that. There we go. That's what we want. That's the action. All right, let's check it out. Let's see if we can kind of figure this out. So we've got the shirt coming here. You know what we might do, or what I might do here just to make it a little bit more clear? We can just wrap the shirt. Back in like that. That way we can get this big old monster tricep. Or what am I doing here? See? Getting lost in my own anatomy. You don't see a tricep coming into the... It'd be like that. That's what we want. Yeah, so this line jitter is poopy. This is Photoshop anyway. Like I said anyway, in Manga Studio this wasn't an issue, so it's got to be just Photoshop. I've always had problems with Photoshop myself, but I just like the program so much that you sort of like forgive its garbageness. Bring forearm muscle in a little too, in your opinion. I think people just want that bulging forearm muscle to connect to the upper arm tricep. I think you guys are in right as well. Bring forearm muscle in a little bit too. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll try to just maybe just cut in some of this stuff here. And we'll just kind of bring out one of the lines going this way. So far, I mean, it's been a treat, man. The only thing I don't like right now, it's doing this jitter thing, and I'm not sure if it's the brush or if I have some action going on here. At least in Photoshop, the biggest thing that I have to get used to is, and this will be a calibration thing I know, is that the cursor's a little off. When I'm in the middle here drawing, it's fine, and the lower I go, the more precise it gets. So I just need to find a good way to calibrate it here, and it'll be good. But for the most part, I mean, all that's gonna be is just practice. Like, I'm still able to get in here and do like little lines. It does have this cheap clicky mouse sound to the stylus, which is kind of annoying. But it's not. I wouldn't say it's not worth it just yet, anyway. But we'll see. We'll see where we're going. All right, we'll get some rendering in there. And what we're going to do here is, actually, let's go function F2. We're going to flip the whole image here just so we can kind of freshen our eyes. I think what we'll do is we're going to bring this forearm on this side in a little bit too. And this should help with that curve action that we got going on. Okay. And just in case we F up and we don't like it, I'm going to select that, duplicate it, turn the other layer off. This way I can go ahead and, oops, erase this without any fears of going, oh God, I can't go back. Whoops, what's going on? We don't need that. We just want this juicy liner. So you guys let me know in a second what you guys think, if this feels better or if this feels worse. I just want to say thank you for bringing it up. I appreciate it. It feels better so far. Let's erase all this skunk back here. We don't need any of that. No, need none of that. And we're going to erase basically this whole arm. All that rendering's gone, but if rendering's just masking bad art, then we don't want it, right? We don't want it. We want this to be clear information. Clear information. F2, let's take a look. Yeah, that looks better, eh? That looks way better. Got some stuff action happening. Some tough acting, Let's turn this, whoop. I don't know what we're doing. There we go. There we go. Look at that. That's better. Good call, guys. There is still something here. So the shoulder is going away from us, and I have this bicep popping up. So the problem that we have now, we're about to wrap the show up here. I just want to start saying that sometimes this happens, right, to everybody. I'm glad it's happening to me with you guys right now, so you guys can see that it does happen to everybody. That sometimes you get the tunnel vision, you're in the workflow or deadlines or whatever your excuse is, but you'll still get bad art or things that just seem a little weird, you know. Let me do something here because I need some pixelation in that line. There we go. Yeah, that looks better. Let's get real small. Okay, well, the pressure sensitivity's gone now. Why is that? It's interesting. We're not going to be able to render with that. All right, this is what I'm I don't want. Here, I'll show you. And this is why Manga Studio is good for this stuff here. Let's go into the lines. You see, these are all Manga Studio lines. Then you get this aliasing stuff. This stuff. And you can just tell right away it's like, at least it's Photoshop I'm running right now. All right, so what we want is the shadow has to change. It has to start doing this. So we have to lose that cool vein, but that's okay. Let's just quickly fill this in. And I think I know why I didn't do this inking down here, because if you look at this whole image, there's no inking like this. Like, there might be little spots like down here and in this. Like, that's just a flooded black, but there's no real proper inking going on in any of this because I'm saving it for the color to do. But that's okay. I'm going to actually break up some of this clothing here. Just make it look a little bit more tattered. Yeah, I hate it too. Looks gross. This line's killing us here. We can't get any volume with that. Let's bring that line back down there like that. What we're going to do is we're going to just bring this rendering back in. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to curve it. See that? Just trying to do what we did down there, but just up here as well. So I'm actually going to kill it for tonight. Just a little heads up what I'm going to do anyway, before I start getting back into the coloring. As you can kind of see what's happening here, right? Like this arm is now popping up. What I need to do is work this so that I can make it feel like it's going away from us. And what happens is if the only light source we have is a cast shadow from an object, that's fine, but it tends to flatten things out unless you have individual shadows that belong to the figure, right? So what I mean is this bicep, I have rendering where the shading should be. But look how clean and open all of this stuff is down here. Like all of this should arguably just be in shadow like this, right? And I'm just going to quickly do it in here so you guys can see what I'm talking about. That would make all of this in shadow too. And this is the sort of stuff that you have to do. Even though the biceps there, we just kind of rendered it out. That's cool. You know, I can do this sort of thing. But you really got to sink it back there. And this actual white cloth should probably be going down here, not wrapping up, because that's doing a little bit of an optical illusion. But anyway, that's what I'm going to be working on. And then we're going to get back into the colors for all this stuff. But thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. And if you guys were kind enough to share the links for the stream this week, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And thanks again for everybody that came in and had some questions about the new Huion tablet. Like I did say at the beginning of the show, what I plan on doing is I've already recorded a part 1 of the review that I did when I clicked buy now on Amazon. And the second part of the interview is going to be a week. Once I've noodled enough with this, I couldn't possibly give a review, or I don't even want to say a review, but more of like just a discussion on this without actually putting on its paces and going through some of the maybe the quirks that I'm experiencing. The differences is probably a better word between my experience with this so far and the Cintiq. And I know I'm not the only cat in the boat that's gone through some of this stuff, so I just want to see what's out there. And then get back more into Manga Studios, see what's going on with that. But you guys can expect that video, I would say, within 2 weeks. Like I say, it's going to take a week to do the proper review, then record it, and then just put it together. I don't want to give you guys a definite time, just because chances are it'll go a little bit over that. But we're going to do that. And what I plan on doing after that is I will do another review in a month's time after that review's posted online. And then I'll do another video review 6 months later. And then I'll either do a review 1 year later, which sounds about right, or possibly 2 years. It's like a longer one, just to see if, did it break? Did it stop working? All that stuff that I think a lot of people probably have some actual relevant questions for and stuff like that. But lastly, thank you guys so much. If you wanted to head on over to jonathanrector.com, you guys can click on tutorials at the top. And I've got a whole crap ton of YouTube videos you guys can check out over there. Kind of talking about the writing we were talking about, more inking, more Cintiq reviews, anything you want. I might have a video for you. Probably check it over there and see if it's up there. And if you came into the show a little bit late, just look at whatever clock you're looking at right now and subtract an hour and 5 minutes from it. And that's when this show starts. It's every Wednesday, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on Picarto.tv. And if you wanted to follow, there's a button at the top. I have a little arrow pointing up there. You can click that guy there, and you should receive an email. Hopefully it's not an hour later like some of you guys are getting. But it'll be an email for whenever I click stream. And I tend to stream throughout the week, listen to some music, toss on the headphones every now and then, and you guys can just catch, weekly stuff, some weekly stuff. You guys might like it. So anyway, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Love you guys. And until next Wednesday, keep reading comics, keep making comics, and I'll see you then. Bye.